I was one of the last people to see Colonel when he was here in Georgia. Colonel is the name that everybody called him because he had a military background. His birth name is John B. Roberson. I arrived at the facility one day as my regular routine, and I observed a U-Haul truck that he was packing, and I assumed at the time that maybe he was just doing facility business, as several people came and went all the time in moving trucks, and he was involved in things associated with auctions and what have you. And I thought perhaps that was the reason why the U-Haul truck was up there and he was putting stuff in it. And it would turn out that he was actually packing up his personal effects and leaving town. I knew something was strange because he just grabbed everything and he left. And I wondered, I said, is he just going back to Destin, Florida, with who I was led to believe was his wife, to do just the routine stuff that he would normally do? Or what is going on? But it was highly abnormal for him to leave to go to Florida, to Destin, where they had some type of a residence, and not notify anybody, particularly me, because on several occasions I would actually keep the facility for him when he was away. I was led to believe that he owned the place. I did not know that he was only a manager. To be perfectly honest with you, I'm not sure anybody knows what his relationship with that facility was for sure. Because he was a part of what is special operations and military, a lot of covert things that really can't be discussed and disclosed publicly are often involved. And so I did not look too deeply into anything at face value, because I felt that maybe perhaps the behaviors were just something that were instituted in him through his military associations. But I did know that something appeared to be unusual. But I had noticed that there were things that appeared to be unusual long before that day ever came. He had a person that was his assistant who worked on the grounds before I ever came to the facility, named Ben. And he and Ben had a pretty close relationship, and apparently Ben had met his father and had been over to the house and all of this kind of stuff. And I was given no indication that anything was wrong. I didn't find out that his father had actually been murdered until the news story broke. I was led to believe that his father had just passed away. And I had a lot of personal information that was shared with me when I was interacting with Colonel, but I'm not at liberty to disclose everything because he's associated with the military. And in our country, you are innocent until proven guilty. And I don't want to implicate anybody on the basis of speculation about what it seems like simply because I saw a news story run. But without question, there are some things that deserve to be investigated. It would turn out he was not married to the female that he led me to believe was his wife. I was told her name was Lisa. And it would turn out that her name was Leah. He gave me indication that he was taking the finances that he had to fund her going through law school at Florida State University. And that the distant relationship they had to do with the fact that he was trying to operate the facility and make money for business so that she could get through school, and then they would get back together on a more consistent basis after she completed school. And I had been notified long before that he intended to move away with her to the Philippines because she's Filipino. I thought it peculiar that I never actually saw the woman that he said was his wife around too frequently. She came on occasion. There were a couple of days where she actually spent the night there, but overall, the only time he really interacted with her directly was when he would leave to go back to whatever he said was his residence in Florida. She was said to be a person that was in law school, a Filipino woman, and that she ended up taking some type of position with the Attorney General's office of Florida. I don't know if that was true or not true, but that's what he said. It would turn out that her name was not Lisa, as I was led to believe, that her name was Leah. And he spoke very highly of her. He had a lot of affection for her. I think he would have done anything for her. He had nobody left. He was an older man. Both of his parents were deceased, and he had no siblings, according to what he told me. And I guess he put what remained of his life into this woman. And I saw him in several pictures. They had traveled. They had done all kinds of things. I saw him in pictures with celebrities and public figures, including one of the hosts of Fox News. And I saw several photographs of him when he was active in military, when he was deployed, and when he was on assignment. And there were many, many mysteries about who D. Roberson actually was. He went to Auburn University. He was part of a fraternity. And it appears that most of his life was led covertly. Because of his father's military background, I believe he was probably one of the chosen few in the military to be selected for certain kinds of special missions and activities. But nobody really knew entirely who John B. Roberson was overall. I came to the facility in 2010. I was being subjected to a lot of things socially here in Columbus, Georgia, and I was just trying to find a place to be able to secure some of my personal effects until I could restabilize after all of the things that were going on and that had occurred. John B. Roberson was already under investigation when I came there because the death of his father occurred in the year 2004. I wasn't even back in the state of Georgia in 2004. I didn't return until 2007. I certainly had no involvement in it or any knowledge of it. But in Columbus, if they can find some kind of way to make you look like you're associated with something or someone that's involved with something that can justify them essentially investigating you, harassing you, putting you in lineups, accusing you, that's what they do here. Because my background indicates that I'm careful about who I associate with. And because it seemed as if Colonel and I had a pretty good relationship in terms of our interaction, I am led to believe that people probably thought that our associations may have been much closer than they believed. My life has been kind of covert too. I've lived very privately. People don't know that much about me or what I've done, and that makes you easy to target and makes you vulnerable. And I was already being subjected to things and targeted and accused anyway for things that were pre-existing. When I walked into that scene, it made it easy for people who were already exploiting the politics and the system here to be able to just scandalize, if you will. I am perplexed at why Colonel chose not to disclose the fact that his father had been murdered. And based upon my interactions with him and based upon the things that I know about him, I might possess information that needs to be known. But nobody ever asked me any questions. Nobody ever said anything. I don't believe that they wanted me to speak up in regard to what I know, because they already had something going on where they were trying to ultimately frame me. Storage facilities have a unique function in society. Most of the time when people end up at storage facilities, they're going through some kind of transition in their life. Something has happened where they have been divided from someone they love, or they're going to be moving to a new place, or perhaps some type of trauma or event or misfortune is going on with them. People come there oftentimes as a place of transition. They also go there to try to secure things that are personal effects that they don't have any place to house, for example. Like some people don't want to keep certain kinds of personal effects at home, and so they'll rent out the facility. Some people use it for business. Well, I noticed that Colonel had a diverse clientele, and some of the patrons that were out there were members of law enforcement, the Columbus Police Department, the Marshal, the Sheriff's Department, and I knew, based upon the way I would see some of the activity taking place, that something was going on. When I would go out to the facility, the Columbus Police Department will often follow me all the way down the road and be circling around the facility, literally. And I wonder what is going on down here that prompts that, because to be perfectly honest with you, it was one of the most safe areas I had been in around here if you're talking about the behavior pattern of what actually takes place down there. But a lot of things happen at storage facilities that the public is unaware of. And you have to be mindful and you have to be watchful, because people keep just about everything that you can imagine in some of those facilities, and everybody is not on the right side of the law when they do so. But Colonel kept a pretty clean operation. He ran a very disciplined facility. Everybody was pretty much regulated and known of, and he had a lot of relationships with the customers that came and went. There was absolutely no outward indication that he might be involved with anything that would appear to be illegal.